Hi everyone, welcome to this lesson on Autumn Leaves in the version of Chet Atkins. As always, only the first part is released on YouTube. For full access to the whole series, please head over to my Patreon page or to my brand new website. If you are looking for the tab and notation file, then do check out my website. If you buy the tab through the music notes link over there, you will get a nice discount. Autumn Leaves was not part of my planning for the coming months, but after it was requested, I checked it out and I realized it was a song that a lot of aspiring thumb pickers would benefit from. The chords aren't too demanding while still retaining some jazzy flavor, and the song uses just a few picking patterns that are repeated all over the place. Because the tutorial is aimed at beginners, I'm taking my time going over each part in detail with alternatives for each challenging section. So don't let the longer videos discourage you. This is not an overly complex tune. But of course, there are two major difficulty spikes in the song, the intro and the ending. The ending is solved quite easily, as Chet basically connects three different endings together. Leave one or two out and you will still be able to land the song. But the intro is something else. That section is firmly rooted in classical guitar technique and it will require some dedicated practice time. Ready? Off you go. Okay, straight to playing then. The guitar is in standard tuning and I'm using a thumbpick like Chet did, but I guess it's perfectly possible to play this tune without a thumbpick as well. It will sound fine. Now I'm going to start by doing something a little bit out of the ordinary and I'm going to skip the intro. I'm going to dive straight into the first verse. I will cover the full Chet Atkins intro all the way at the end of the lesson, but I'm a bit worried that some people might get scared away by that intro because it is more or less grounded into classical guitar playing a little bit more than we are used to on this channel or this platform. So I'm going to dive into Verse 1, you will find the full explanation on the intro all the way at the end of the lesson, as well as an easier alternative. I'm going to divide the song into two verses, and each verse has an A and B section. So here we go with verse 1A. Let's have a listen. Straight into verse 1B. Let's have a look at the different fingerings. Few things with the thumb over the side of the neck, but we'll remedy that as soon as we get there. We start with the upbeat of the melody, middle finger, second fret on G string, open B string, and then index finger, first fret on the B string. You leave those two fingers down and then you add the ring finger, third fret on the low E string, pinky, third fret on the D string, and you flatten the index finger to get a small bar across two strings on the B string and E string, giving you an F chord with G in the bass. And you pick the low E string together with the high E string, third fret, first fret. Bass line, only low E string, D string, E string, D string, melody note on the first beat, 1, 2, and then right after the second beat before heading back to the low E string, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, as with some other Chet songs, we already talked about this, we're going to try to play the bass note on the D string together with a chord tone on the G string whenever we get the possibility. So pick light, angle the thumbpick slightly forward and try to catch that G string alongside the bass note on the D string. And in one version, Chet plays, not Tommy, but Chet plays just one string. In another version, he plays a double stop. So he plays the B string and the high E string at the same time. And you can pick and choose whatever you like. So again, first bar. Then you switch over the ring finger is replaced by the middle finger on the 3rd fret. Ring finger heads over to the 3rd fret on the D string. So basically the middle finger is replacing the ring finger. The ring finger is replacing the pinky, and you drop down the index finger on the 2nd fret, replacing the middle finger. So you're going basically these 3 notes. You're going to play them again, just replacing them with different fingers, so you get the pinky open for the 3rd fret on the high E string. See? So bass note in the 2nd bar, bass note, and then you pluck the thumb pick on the D string, and the index finger plucks the melody note on the G string. To an open B string, back to the low E string, and then the melody note, 3rd fret with the pinky on the high E string. To a standard C chord, just A string and high E string at the same time, bass note on the D string, again try to catch the open G string together with the D string. And then you drop down the pinky on the 3rd fret G string, and you pluck the 3rd fret on the G string together with an open E string again. So 1, 2, 3. Ring finger heads over to the low E string, alternating between the A string and E string, before finally playing one more bass note on the D string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those first 3 bars. Thumb over the side of the neck to the 1st fret. I will cover this chord in just a second using a bar as well. So thumb over the side of the neck, 1st fret, then ring finger 3rd fret on the D string, and then the middle finger 2nd fret on the G string. We're going to leave the B string open just for now, and then the pinky 3rd fret on the high E string. So 1st fret, no A string, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, open B string, 3rd fret on the high E string. This chord was the one that gave me a few headaches. I thought, well, oh, Autumn Leaves by Chet Atkins seems pretty easy. This chord sent me several times back to the practice shed because the picking pattern here is deceptively tricky. So you play 1st beat bass note, 1, and plucking the B string open and the high E string 3rd fret at the same time. 1 and 2 to the 3rd fret on the D string. Removing the pinky, dropping down the index finger on the 1st fret on the high E string, and plucking that together with the middle finger 2nd fret on the G string. 1 and 2 and back to the low E string, 3 and open E string, removing the index finger altogether, back to the D string and dropping down the pinky on the 3rd fret B string for the last melody note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You keep those 3 fingers down. From the F chord, you remove the thumb and you add the index finger on the 2nd fret on the A string, giving you a B minor 7 flat 5 chord. That's going to be the next chord. Now, before I head there, let me address the same chord using a bar. If you're using a bar, it's not going to be possible to play that open B string. So we have to drop that all together, and then you get this. So you start with a full bar across all 6 strings, ring finger 3rd fret on the D string, middle finger 2nd fret on the G string, pinky 3rd fret on the high E string, 1 and just the high E string, 3rd fret, that's all. 1, 2, remove the pinky and play the G string and E string, 2nd fret, 1st fret, 1, 2, 3, remove the bar, but keep pushing down on the first fret on the bass note. So you're lifting up the bar to get an open E string on top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you end up with the same fingering. You remove the bass note altogether, second fret, A string with the index finger, and you end up on the same B minor 7 flat 5 chord as before. So thumb over the side of the neck is tricky with those open strings and that sixth interval in there. With the bar, it's a little bit easier. So see what works for you. Those first 4 bars all the way through. So in that first bar of the next, let's say the next 4 bars, that first section isn't too hard. Now you can pick and choose whether you play only that D string or you include the G string as well as you transfer to the B minor 7th chord. Then the B minor 7th chord is just melody note. 1, 2, 3, 4, just replacing the bass note. So first beat, A string, D string and G string at the same time, then transferring the index finger to the low E string, first fret, E string, and again D string and G string at the same time. 3, 4. To a low E string, you can still keep the pinky down on the same spot. You fret second fret with the middle finger on the A string, first fret, index finger on the G string, and you're going to have to flatten the index finger to catch the high E string as well on the first fret. So that melody note still preferably rings out, bass note on the low E string, then flatten the index finger, first fret on the high E string. 1, 2, bass note on the D string, together, if possible, with the G string. 1, 2, straightening the index finger back up, so you go back from that bar to an open E string, first fret, to an open E string, while still pushing down on that first fret on the G string. 1, 2, 3, back to the low E string. You're still holding down the pinky. Pick the third fret on the B string, back to D string, and then we're going to head over to an A minor chord. That full bar on the E chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the first beat, you drop down the A minor chord, but you still keep the pinky on the third fret just for now. Together with the low A string, you repick that note on the pinky, third fret B string. 1, 2, the first fret in between 2 bass notes. 1, 2. As you head to the bass note on the D string, second fret, held down with the middle finger, you pull off to the open B string. And you put the index finger straight back down on the first fret and repick the same string. 1 and 2 and 3 to the low E string, and on the fourth beat, D string and G string. 1, 2, 3, 4. You stick to the A minor chord, A bass string. 1, pick second fret on the G string, bass note on the D string. Remove the index finger for an open B string. 1, 2, 3, back to the first fret on the B string after playing the bass note on the low E string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth beat again is just D string and G string at the same time. That is the last beat of, or the last bar of that first opening section. Those 2 A minor chords, back to back, those 2 bars. flat dominant 13 chord. We'll get to that in just a second. First, those last 4 bars. 3, 4. Before we head into that jazzy chord, the first 8 bars all the way through, we're halfway through verse 1A. Here we go. A flat dominant 13 chord. Now the picking pattern for the next few bars is going to be roughly the same, so let me go over the chords. First, that A flat 13 dominant chord is ring finger 4th fret on the low E string, pinky 4th fret on the D string, middle finger 3rd fret on the G string. Basically it's the first chord shape you played. You holding down the bar at the same spot and you're moving up the other fingers. So this was the very first chord, the F over G chord, and now we're just moving up the bottom part of the chord up 1 fret. 4th fret, 4th fret, 3rd fret, 1st fret, 1st fret. From there on we move to a G dominant 13 chord. So what do? We shift those fingers back down 1 fret and we remove the bar. That is going to be the 2nd chord. And then the 3rd chord is going to be an F sharp dominant chord with a flat 9 in there. 2 options. Chet plays this with the thumb over the side of the neck, 2nd fret on the low E string, then middle finger 2nd fret on the D string, pinky 3rd fret on the G string, and index finger 1st fret on the B string. So 2nd fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 1st fret, and an open E string on top. But as you can see, it's also perfectly possible to play this using the middle finger and the ring finger, and then you don't need the thumb over the side of the neck at all. So those are the first 3 chords. A flat 13 to G 13 to F sharp dominant 7 flat 5. The picking pattern is always going to be more or less the same thing. That is the first bar, bass note, E string, D string, E string, D string. Picking pattern on top, high E string, low E string, to the B string, and then bass note on the D string again, and back to the high E string. And complete the bass pattern. Then we shift down, we pick the exact same thing, but now Chet, I don't know if it was intentional or not, he picks as a 2nd note, he picks the G string instead of the B string. But everything you're holding down will sound fine. It's all the same chord. So if you pick the B string again, it will sound fine. So Chet does this. So instead of picking that B string in there, he picks the G string. And he does the same thing on the F sharp chord. Again to the G string, but if I play it all on the B string, it sounds fine. It's all part of the same chord. So again, this is something that you can pick and choose how you like it best. I'm going to stick to Chet's original version, only the B string the first time, and then to the G string, again the G string, and then back to the same F chord we played in the beginning, thumb over the side of the neck, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 1st fret. It's going to be a bit more tricky to leave out the thumb here, but I'm going to give it a go in just a second. This is what Chet plays. So it's all around the same small chord shape. to the B minor 7 flat 5 chord. So what happens is bass note, first fret, low E string, and then third fret on the D string together with an open E string. First fret on the B string, and then as you hammer on with the pinky to the third fret, you play the bass note on the low E string again. So make sure that timing lines up perfectly. You're aiming to play the hammer-on at the same time as you're playing the bass note. Don't shift the timing of the bass note to, let's say, adjust for the timing of the hammer-on. The hammer-on has to rely on the timing of the bass pattern. 1, 2, 3. Get that right. If it's difficult in the beginning, then no worries, it's that the case for everybody, but just loop it. Until it works over again, until it clicks and until you can do it without thinking about it. Rest of the bar. Remove the pinky straight away again, repick the first fret on the B string, bass note on the D string, and then drop the pinky back down, third fret, because again, we're going to leave those 3 fingers where they are and head over to the B minor 7 flat 5 chord, as we did before. That full bar using the thumb, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now, if we're using the bar in this case, it's going to be next to impossible to get that first high E string in there. Now, Chet is playing a variation on the melody here, so we can sort of extend the variation and just leave out that open E string altogether. Then you get this. The rest of the bar is the exact same thing, apart from the full bar here. 1, 2, just the bass note, no open E string on top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. The technique, the timing is the exact same thing. I tried putting in that open E string on top there, but you have to drop down the bar so quickly for that next first fret on the B string that you always get some kind of hammer on. So leaving it out altogether sounds fine. Just to prove that, let me connect it to the chords previous to this small section. So starting on the A flat dominant 13 chord. Sounds okay. Now, I didn't realize, but those were the last 4 bars, so maybe one more time with the thumb over the side of the neck. We know that section. The next 4 bars start with the exact same thing. B minor 7 flat 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and back to the same E dominant chord we used before. Repick third fret on the B string, bass note on the D string, back to the same B string, still the third fret. Sometimes Chet plays a double stop here, adding in the first fret on the G string as well. Again, that small bar flattening the index finger, still holding down the first fret on the G string, just for the first fret on the B string now. Another bass note on the open D string before heading back to another A minor chord. Picking pattern on the A minor chord is A string together with the B string, second fret on the G string, 1, 2, repick the G string, and then low E string, D string, and a small accent. I'm using the nails to play the last A. Not really even A minor chord, but a power chord, open A string, second fret, and not using the index finger on top anymore. And then from that point on, Chet heads into verse B, so we're going to feature that little pickup bar in the next part of the tutorial. But first, those last 4 bars, 3, 4, 1A. Let me play the last 8 bars one more time. Verse 1A. All the way through, just one more time, really slowly, then we can check out the next section. Here we go. And the pickup bar and the rest of verse 1, we'll check that out in the next part of the tutorial. I'll see you there.